Welcome to our loyal followers. In this video, we will give you an idea of a profitable and useful project. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell button to receive everything new and support us with your comments and suggestions. Let's begin. Every person has goals that he seeks to achieve in life, and dreams of establishing a project that is independent from others and meets his needs without needing help from anyone, and there are many small projects that a person can do. Aspects, in order to ensure his long-term success, and to avoid failure, there is a project that a person can do and will benefit him, which is raising sheep. Sheep breeding project is one of the successful projects. This project needs experts and specialists in this field, in order for it to become a successful project and bring benefits and profits to its founders, so sound rules and foundations must be set for the project to run in a correct manner, and to avoid the loss and errors that may be exposed to the project, so a plan for the project must be developed and study it from all sides, provide the necessary funding for the success of this project, and study the market and consumers' need for such projects. Livestock is one of the most important natural resources, with meat, leather, wool and milk used. It was and still is the source of livelihood for many, so its products cannot be dispensed with for human life, and there are several types of them such as sheep, goats and many other things, and for raising sheep, the breeder must be experienced and there is a suitable place for them such as barns and pastures. Today we will propose to you a set of useful information for each sheep breeder to raise his sheep and increase their productivity. When preparing the barn for sheep, consideration must be given to providing them with adequate shelter throughout the year to protect them from the sun, heat, wind and rain, and some of the things that are recommended to be provided and taken into account when preparing the barn and raising sheep are the following. Firstly, one of the most important things that a person must do when setting up a sheep breeding project is to provide a wide and sufficient space to carry out such a project, and this land must have the conditions and features that are commensurate with the project, such as providing the appropriate ventilation that the sheep need, by exposing them for sunlight, and that this land be easy and not winding. Research facilitates the construction of places for sheep, easy to clean and care for, and easy access to the equipment that the project needs. Secondly, setting up a fence for the barn, preferably not less than 1.5 meters in length, in order to keep predators away from sheep, and it is possible to resort to electric fencing sometimes even if the fence is long, as some predators may dig under the fence and attack the sheep. Third, the provision of equipment and supplies. The person must provide all the needs that the project needs, provide modern and advanced equipment that helps to increase production, provide appropriate and healthy food for these sheep, build appropriate homes for them, and arrange them in a way in which sheep of similar ages are placed with each other. Fourth, preparing the special bedding for sheep, which is usually of straw, and it is preferable that the shelter consists of thick layers of hay in the winter to give them a warm and clean shelter, and it is necessary to stay away from sawdust as a material from which the sheep shelter is made because that is enough to destroy its wool. Fifth, maintaining the flow of air in the barn by installing a fan or leaving the doors open, and the airflow must always be maintained, whether in hot summer or even in winter, as this helps the sheep to stay cool and will contribute greatly to keeping flies away from them. After preparing the appropriate place and all the requirements, a person can purchase sheep, and this stage is one of the most important stages of the project, because it is the one that will determine the success or failure of the project, and this step requires specialists in the field of sheep, so that they can purchase the types required for the production process, and the quality that it has more demand and consumption, and if the choice is not successful, it will lead to the failure of the project. After performing all these steps, a person can direct his project, and start implementing the steps necessary for the success of the project, such as the marketing process for the products that will be produced, and knowing the standards and specifications required for the success of such a project. There are two options for buying sheep. When buying pregnant females of sheep, preferably 2 or 3 years old, their prices will be somewhat exorbitant, but they will compensate for that through the number of seasons from which new offspring can be obtained. In addition to that, the breeder will not need the stallions to be vaccinated. To buying female sheep and their stallions before pollination, it is also preferable to be 2 or 3 years old, selected purebred stallions, and they must be replaced by another pollinated stallion every 3-4 years, to avoid obtaining unwanted genetic characteristics due to the upbringing of relatives. And here the pollination takes place in the farm, or the females can be bought at the age of a year, but they must be fed and taken care of well. Nevertheless, they will not have a great opportunity to reproduce in this season, and they remain for the next season. Specifications of sheep to be bought: stood intact, head held high. Movement and activity. The integrity of the eyes and the absence of any tears in them. Its wool is of natural color. Its safety from skin diseases such as scabies and pumpkin. Not to be infected with foot and mouth disease. It should be noted that there is no runny nose, swelling of the lips, or lung diseases, and coughing is evidence of it. The integrity of female udders, and male neutering. Sheep are considered ruminant animals that feed on plants such as grass and hay, and sheep can grow well if their food contains pasture herbs, salts, vitamins, mineral supplements, and pure water. And it is worth noting that 1 acre of good pasture can nourish 4 sheep, and sheep can depend on their own food during the period of growth of the herbs, either in winter or in the event of drought. They will need some nutritional supplement with hay, or grains, and the appropriate quantities of nutritional supplements recommended by the University of Minnesota are as follows: 1 kilogram of peeled corn, 9 kilograms of oats, 9 kilograms of wheat bran, 4.5 kilograms of linseed. It should be noted that the minerals and vitamins provided to sheep must be specially formulated for them, because some mineral mixtures contain toxic heavy metals such as copper. In addition to that, their food must contain salts to prevent bloating, and the salts are usually presented in the form of granules, and salt blocks are never used. Pregnancy in sheep takes 5 months, and it is one of the important periods in the life of the sheep, upon which it depends on the completion of the pregnancy in a normal position, which gives good offspring, and the activity of the sheep is evidence of its health, and it is recommended to rely on natural pastures during this period, and if it is not available, it is recommended to add protein supplements to sheep, to allow the fetus to grow, as well as to store materials in its body, which enables it to produce milk, and it is advised to tame the sheep before its due date by walking in the pastures. As for the birth of sheep, it takes place in the pastures, taking into account the presence of umbrellas in the event of rain, and the sheep that are about to give birth can be known by some characteristics, which are that they are slow moving, tend to isolate themselves from the herd, and their belly appears swollen more than usual, and the size of the udder is large. Usually, the booty does not need help during the birth process except rarely, and it is advised that a veterinarian be present in the event of any defect and to help the newborn to breathe, and to help the booty to expel the placenta, and the newborn must be helped to breastfeed if the sheep refuses to breastfeed him for any reason, by linking its legs and subjecting it, and grounding the newborn on her udder. Care must be taken to clean the barn and its ventilation, provide clean water to sheep, resistance to external and internal parasites, and vaccinate against diseases, to protect the herd and maintain its health, and isolate sick sheep, to avoid infection of the rest of the herd. Experienced people should be consulted when there is an emergency. Sheep health care depends on the necessity of applying the necessary preventive methods and measures, including establishing a preventive health plan in cooperation with the veterinarian. This also saves you time and money for health care in the long term. Use vaccines and dosages in reasonable and appropriate quantities. Adopting the method of safe grazing, meaning avoiding combining the sheep that are grazing in the current year with the sheep under weaning in the following year, and this is used to fight their infection with worms and parasites, and to contribute to the benefit from the dropping doses that are given to them. The owner of the sheep farm must implement a preventive program during the year to provide protection for the herds from infection, especially diseases that lead to the death of sheep, and to achieve a great loss for the owner of the farm, and the implementation of this preventive program depends on cooperation with a veterinarian. This helps to provide appropriate vaccinations for sheep according to the dates specified in the vaccination program, and often vaccines for sheep are given from the following diseases. Provide a medicine for smallpox during the period between August and September. Providing medicine for FMD 6 weeks before the birth of the sheep. Providing medicine for intestinal poisoning 3 weeks before the birth of the sheep, and in the event that it is not able to provide this vaccine, the farm owner must provide it to the sheep within a week of its birth, then it is returned after a month and a half. Providing a vaccine against brucellosis during the age of 6 months. The use of dipping to protect against external parasites, during the period of time during the months of April and May. The use of pills and injections to protect against internal parasites twice a year.